And we're back.
Hi.
Hello. So, I believe it is my turn now.
It is. We've just stopped for a what have we done?
A brief food
Interlude.
break.
Oh,
Yep.
dude, we had such great food.
We did.
We did have very good food.
Total carbs and sugar. Just,
Yep.
yeah. And caffeine. Because
And
much
caffeine.
needed.
Truth.
And having been traumatised with the Tudors, it's now time for some... I'm trying to think of a pun.
Portuguese.
Not a pun, alliteration.
Oh, nope.
It's time for the Portuguese part of the podcast.
Yep.
Well, hey.
It's okay. Don't run away. I won't be speaking in Portuguese.
No, she won't. We've just actually had an interesting conversation about our exposure to English and Portuguese language recently.
That's true.
Anna grew up in Portugal and only
All
came
the way up to 16.
wasn't it? Yeah, GCSE years, and so has a fluent grasp. But is very fluent in Portuguese. But what were you saying? What part of English language do you struggle with? Translation to Portuguese?
Well,
or?
it's not the English part that I struggle with because obviously I've worked in the UK, whereas in Portugal I only ever studied. So I don't have a sort of the business vocabulary.
The formal language. Yeah.
That comes with working in a place, in a country. So basically, I very much struggle with, obviously for this, I rely on Wikipedia a lot. However, it doesn't always have the juicy bits of...
The juicy bits.
of true crime.
Yeah, well, it's not going to have technicals in terms of technical.
You'd be surprised. It has a lot of detail, but
Really?
but it doesn't always have the
drama.
the drama. Yes, very much so.
Where we
So I a lot of the time I have to translate
Yeah.
a lot of articles from Portuguese to English for this podcast. So
double the work basically because you then
Very
having to do
much.
the research and then do the translation.
very much double the work. But Google is very much a friend because I can't really do the translation because, like I said, some of the vocabulary just isn't there. So a lot of the time I just have to Google certain words. And some of them don't even have translation. I have to sort of define or explain what the term means rather than have a direct translation.
Yeah, because sometimes you're just going to get words like that just don't translate over.
Precisely. So my sort of murder today is about Luisa de Jesus.
For any of those with the Cockney accent out there, no, it is not Luisa de Jesus.
Well,
I just wanted to get that one clear.
that is how it's written, but
Yes, it's how it's written, not necessarily how it's pronounced, although, do you know what? If you are from the East End of London and you've given it a crack, I will applaud you anyway, because De Jesus is a hard name to come out with in that accent.
it is. It very much is. Even I struggled just now.
Yeah.
I do have a question.
Yes.
We've just had a Tudor story. What time is this set in? What time period are you looking at?
It's set in the 1700s.
Okay.
I think just a little bit after the Tudors.
Just, a couple of hundred years later. Yeah.
Just a tiny bit.
That's valid. We like to mix it up a little bit, you know. Can't just stick with one, although I love the Tudor period. Can't just stick with one
You
period
do.
in
It is
history.
kind of. I feel like it's your favourite period.
Oh, my spirit queen is Anne Boleyn, just saying. So, yeah. Anyway, you know what happened to her. Anyway, she lost her head, just for those who don't know.
She did lose her head.
And I don't mean figuratively. Anyway.
Definitely, for anyone who hasn't already, definitely go and watch
Six.
the musical.
I got into trouble recently in work for actually listening to Anne Boleyn's song and having an awful taste in music. And I said,
Shut
"Did
up.
you not hear those lyrics?"
Shut up. It's so
Exactly.
good. It spits bars.
I think so.
I don't
so.
think I've ever said that in my entire life.
It's the closest I've come to calling someone a heathen when they walked in and went, "What is this song?" And I went, "How dare you?"
You called me a heathen like.
Once a year. I thought you were going to come up with once a week. Yeah.
You heathen.
Yeah, you don't know Michael Jackson. You heathen. Right, yeah.
What? Whoa.
Yeah.
Let's hold the.
Yeah.
Hold the phone.
Apparently the introduction to his music was down to your auntie, not me.
She had swag.
She did have swag. So I'm a heathen, clearly, for not introducing you to good music. Off topic. So,
Yes. Luisa
de
definitely,
Jesus.
definitely go watch Six the Musical.
Yes.
It's brilliant.
Yes.
So, I've gotten my information about this. Some from Wikipedia, but funnily enough, I did find even more information elsewhere. Turns out an English speaker has already covered this story.
Oh, cool.
So soz about that. But I will give them a sort of credit because I have to.
Because we love to give props.
Absolutely. I've gotten my information from Foul Play Crime Series and a website called fabricadoterror.com. I did it again.
Point is the Portuguese word for dot, essentially.
Yes,
or
it
point,
is.
if you
Yes,
will.
it is. Fabricadoterror.com. It's difficult. So I can interchange between Portuguese and English like that, like very quickly. However, starting a sentence in Portuguese and then intertwining it with English words is very difficult. Like saying names with Portuguese pronunciation, but in the middle of an English sentence is very difficult because you kind of have to interweave the accents and my head gets messed up. Anyway, all of that to say, that is where I got my information from. As well as, of course, our good friend, Wikipedia.
We all love a good wiki.
So we start on April 1772.
Okay.
Sister Angélica Maria was walking along Monte Arroio in Coimbra when she tripped over newly turned soil. She's a caretaker at Coimbra's Foundling home nearby. In Portugal in the 1700s, poverty was in abundance. The lower class barely had the means to feed their families, and sometimes sacrifices had to be made. For those who could not afford another mouth to feed, there was a place they could go, the Foundling wheel. This was a revolving device, often built into the wall of a church, hospital, or orphanage, that allowed people to anonymously leave unwanted infants in the hopes that a good Samaritan of means would find and take them.
I can't get past that. I can't get past the fact that there are institutions literally set up for you to just dump your baby off. I understand the poverty in desperate times.
I feel like it's better that existed because the alternative is you either struggle and you all starve or you basically have to dump your child somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean,
Possibly
orphanages
even-
and things like that were a thing back then, but even then, given the level of poverty there was, like if you, we had a brief, quick sort of topical back and forth before about why is it the poor that seem to be, you know, in these points of population explosions, the poor were having lots of kids. But what was your take on that when I was saying that? Why the poor? Why is it always the
I mean, it's
working and
because
other
they're the
classes?
ones that can't afford to keep their children.
Yeah. But then I also looked back and thought, well, hang on, everybody was having kids back then.
They
That's
were,
why they
but
called it a population explosion.
There
so.
were, but the difference is the rich could afford to have people take care of their children.
Yeah, they could also afford things like birth control. Like the birth control goes back longer than we give it credit for.
True.
There were crude means of birth control that go back centuries, and whether
Old
they
wives'
worked,
tales, I imagine.
whether they worked or not. Well, I do believe some of the earliest, if I've got my history correct, some of the earliest, I wouldn't say scientific, but definitely factual forms of like actual real forms of birth control were things like sheep's bladders, if I remember correct.
I've heard that.
That was an
I've also
actual
heard
thing.
there was a plant that existed that we sort of used up and made go extinct.
So these are real things that people used. Whether they were effective or not, like I'd have to do a week's worth of research, I think, just to try and find some of that out.
You know what also has existed longer than you'd think?
Go on.
And you are going to have to bleep this one, Scott. Dildos.
That does not surprise me.
Dude,
They used to
shoving things up their arse.
They used to sell, but like as a they used to go to markets and they had like dildos out in the open, basically. Yes.
As long as there has been carving and etching and generating of things with any kind of phallic resemblance, there have been that stuff.
True,
like,
but
no.
Here's the thing, right?
Splinters. Well, you just made me cross my legs, fella. Splinters,
Obviously, I
no.
know that humanity is like always searching for the next best thing to shove somewhere.
Wood.
However, I knew that would have been a thing, but what I didn't know is that they would like openly sell it in markets and stuff.
I am now.
That's the bit that surprised me.
Well, that's fair. Like, you wouldn't expect it to be so out in the open. It's amazing how much we think was shielded that actually
apparently
really
before
wasn't.
Victorian period.
I could believe it.
Because obviously with the Victorian period, that all kind of
being a fan of etymology, and phraseology more specifically, I wonder if that's where the expression "got wood" came from.
Probably.
I'm now like, let's find out the root of.
I mean,
that's
there's
an actual thing that people joke like.
Also, even like, I feel like anything to do with wood, like as a sort of link to that sort of euphemism makes sense.
Yes. But so there you go. That's a little research project for me. Where did the phrase "got wood" came? I am going to be. I am going to look search it on the internet later. So help me. Anyway.
Okay, well,
let's get back to Paul.
You all can go and research it as well if you like.
Let's get back to Paul Angelica tripping over that loosely turned soil.
Right. So, let me just get back to where I was. Before leaving, the individual leaving the child would ring a bell to alert those on the other side to the presence of the baby. The nuns or nurses would come to adopt and care. The nuns or nurses would then collect the baby until someone would come to adopt and care for them.
So it's like an orphanage, essentially.
Essentially, but it's basically the difference between the thing that this came to help is that you could do it anonymously.
Yeah.
No one would know that you did this because I imagine a lot of people didn't in fact give their babies away and instead either kept them and struggled or murdered them.
Yeah.
Was, I imagine, because they were ashamed.
Yeah.
So because they could do it anonymously, then they didn't have to do anything more drastic.
Yeah.
And instead the baby could carry on being looked after by someone presumably of means.
And I'm using...
It's really not hard to figure out who dropped them there when they grow up and start looking like the dude that dropped them there.
Well, it would have been the mothers.
He's really got Darren's eyes.
Yeah, it would have been like the mothers, really, because the
thing
dads
is, back
would have long
then-
scarpered, yeah.
Back then, it was also very easy for you to slip out of town and never be heard from again.
Yeah.
So
I always think of Les Mis and what that I've forgotten her name. Oh my word! And I'm going to go back and watch Les Mis just for. But I always think of the. Pardon, courgette. Not courgette.
yes.
Oh yeah. So I always think of that poor woman in Les Mis when she literally doesn't she lose her baby, or the baby gets taken off her.
Yeah.
So
It gets taken off her.
because she has the child out of wedlock, and the dad promises he's going to marry her and whatever.
Exactly.
And the minute she's pregnant, he scarpers, and that was pretty much how it was done back then. The minute someone is in trouble, quote unquote.
Not to mention, you were taken away to some place far in the woods. Well, not the woods, but usually to a convent.
Yeah.
And then where you could give birth, and then you
were taken
away.
to a home for unwed mothers, as they would like to call it. And I'm using the term orphanage for children. It's not orphanage. Orphanage specifically relates to children whose parents have passed on, but there is a word for it. I mean, nowadays, what would it be? Foster homes, or there's a term for it for children who...
They literally just call it Foundling home here.
Yeah, well, like a foster house, but they have... See, the weird thing is, and I'm pausing as I say this, but it must happen. It must actually happen that people abandon their babies.
There's a lot of stuff like that nowadays.
Yeah.
Yes, but...
Like fire stations, some places in like America have like boxes that you can put a baby in.
But in this country, when a child gets abandoned and that child is then found, it makes national news. There was a case recently that the police had established they were trying to find the parents of 3 children that had been abandoned across
Not to mention
15
nowadays,
years.
it's a lot easier to track the parents down with DNA.
Yeah, this has
stuff.
made news because they're actually looking, in this case, they're looking for the mum because they know the children biologically have the same parents, but they are now concerned that the mum has given birth and been made to leave her babies 3 times in, I think it's a 15-year period, which is, it's absolutely frightening when you think about it. So I'm trying to think of the name because there is a name for a centre. They used to have a name, and it's not orphanage.
Someone will let us know.
So yeah. It'd be like a foundling centre or well, we'll find out.
Getting back. The prospective adoptive parents could then be awarded 600 reis subsidy, which I have done the math.
Okay.
From reis to the Portuguese coin that came after that, which was escudos.
Yeah, I remember them.
And then from there, I didn't go to euros. I went instead to pounds because pounds are older.
Yes, yeah.
So we know what the value of the pound would have been back then.
Well, I think you could still do a escudo of £2.
Yes, exactly.
For all the holiday makers that I used to see over in Portugal when I'd go there to visit family, the escudo, as we like to call it. Yeah, the escudo, which, to be fair, I mean, it used to be something ridiculous, the exchange rate. It used to be like 4 escudos to a pound.
It was insane.
Yeah.
So I did the exchange to from reis to escudos and then from escudos to pounds because you can still do that. And with inflation, I got to about 70 cents.
70 cents?
Yeah.
As in?
70p's.
70 pence? So they can...
Now, I haven't researched how much things cost.
Okay. Because I think I need some context here because I could just hear someone, 70p! Right, go on.
I haven't looked up how much things cost back then.
Yes.
But when I saw that, even with inflation, I'm not sure if I did the calculations right. But basically, bearing in mind, 1,000 reis was 1 escudos.
Oh.
1 escudo. And then this wasn't even 1,000, it was 600. So it was less than that.
Wow.
So,
Wow. So they really did expect the people adopting the infants to be well off.
kind of, yeah.
Because you ain't rocking up that pool and going, I'll have that commission.
Unless it turns out that, you know, somehow with 600 reis you could... But they also gave... So it was 600 reis subsidy with a trosso...
Okay.
And 1/2 meter of thick cotton fabric for their generosity. So they were given basically money and...
Nappies.
Not a lot of money, but it was money.
Yeah.
And a few nappies and cloth for the baby.
For context, a pack of nappies these days, because I happen to know, costs something close to £7 or £8, depending on where you go. And that is insanity. Like, I don't get me wrong, it's, 300 years ago?
Yes.
We're going back 300 years.
Yeah.
So obviously inflation and everything and exchange rates and everything have to be factored in and all that. But
again, I'm sure people in the comments will know better than me, but I'm sure 600 reis back then you could afford some stuff. I imagine.
Yeah, maybe a couple of loaves of bread, a few bits, I don't
basically
know.
enough to keep the child, but considering even with inflation, 70p is all I got to.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, this is a rabbit hole you really could go down, because bearing in mind the pound's been around for a while, but it didn't always equate in pence. So we had shillings and farthings and tuppence, and so it really you can get lost in the trying to equate money, but still it just sounds like a phenomenally small amount.
It would have been helpful to know how much things cost back then, as opposed to just know how the amount of money that they were given and how it translates to today.
Yeah.
But I have no information on that. If someone else could provide it in the comments,
so
then
along
that
with
would
got wood, I'm going to
contextualize.
be singing money.
That might contextualize.
Tech guys on it.
The problem is this is in Portugal, right? So it's kind of hard to. That's the thing that sort of handicaps me, in the sense that in research, because there's so much about like the UK and the value of money and how much things cost back then. But for Portugal, there's really very little that I can go off of.
Yeah.
Without really going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how much I want to. Someone else can do it for me. So anyway, so they were given these things to keep the baby.
Okay.
As well as obviously the baby. And they would raise them. And sometimes it would be like a foster home. Like someone would get a bunch of children and raise them. And sometimes it would be obviously like adoption today, parents who just wanted a baby and could have one. So they would come and get one.
Yeah.
Or sometimes, like in this case, people would exploit the system.
Oh, here we go.
Upon closer inspection, Sister Angelica Maria found the shallow grave of an infant with strangulation marks visible around its neck.
Shit.
Whether it was due to haste or carelessness, this would uncover a scheme orchestrated by a woman who exploited a flaw in a system meant to help those who could not help themselves.
Oh, God.
It's about to get deep and it's about to get serious, people. So strap in.
We've just completely swapped since last week.
I know last week's story was all, yeah.
I feel
I missed the dude getting his heart ripped out. That was bad.
Luisa de Jesus was born on the 10th of December 1748 in Figueira de Lourvão, a locality that in the 18th century was part of the municipality of Coimbra. It is no longer nowadays. Nowadays it's part of Peniche, I think.
For context, give people an idea of whereabouts that is in Portugal. Is it north, south?
It's near, I believe it's near Lisbon. I
it's
might be
north.
lying. She was the daughter of small-time farmers Manuel and Mariana Rodrigues.
Okay.
In the parish registers, there is only one entry that corresponds to the data we know of her. On the 18th day of December of 1748, in this church of Figueira, Father João Batista Barreto baptized and placed the holy oils on Luisa, born on the 10th day of the same month and year, from the first marriage of Manuel Ruiz and his wife Mariana Ruiz from Gavinhos.
So she's 8 days old at this point. Okay.
Yeah. Ruiz is short for Rodrigues.
Yes.
It's how they wrote it, like they shortened it.
It's
to
also a lot
Ruiz.
easier to say.
The surname of Rodrigues was the surname of her father and mother, who were first cousins.
Because that happens.
Yes, it did.
I need to research this. There are some countries where that's still a thing.
Oh, absolutely.
What, cousin stuff?
Yeah.
First
I've no
cousins,
doubt.
not just second cousins.
I'm sure it happens here. We just don't hear about it.
Yep.
Postman.
He's not your cousin.
No, but he might be your father.
Okay.
I had to. I'm sorry.
Why is he a fit-looking postman? Anyway.
Well, I think he's coming this way.
Right, so either our tech guy's going to find him attractive or I might. We don't know.
I think he's like 70.
Then no, he's not to my taste.
I think he's so sad.
That serves you right for calling his name. Anyway, carry on.
So, yes.
8-day-old baby.
Yes. And her parents were first cousins. No law obliged them to give their name to their surname to their children. In fact, until the 19th century, people could change their names throughout their lives. To be fair, I think they can still do that today, but to a certain extent. But back then, it was literally you never had to take your parents' names. Whereas in Portugal nowadays, and for a very long time, I know I have my mum's name and my dad's name.
Yeah.
And obviously now my husband's name. But
Yeah. But interestingly enough, I think today you are your ID. So much is reliant on the data we hold about ourselves.
True.
We've become, our identities have become more than just, we can't just flexibly, like to change your name here, unless you're doing it through legal channels like
I will
marriage
say
or
it is
default.
very hard.
Yeah.
How easy it would be to get away with crime if you could just change your name.
Well,
Yeah,
that's,
it was.
that's half the reason.
That's why this podcast can exist.
Yeah.
It's because it was that easy.
And that's half the reason why it's not like that today. They want to be able to trace you.
With some, more modern advancements for like trans people, I'd imagine that can be a bit of a pain in the arse.
I think that is, yeah, all day.
So that's why Luisa used the surname Jesus
Okay.
rather than Rodrigues, which didn't come from her parents, her grandparents, or her husband, whose name was Manuel Gomes.
Okay.
Little is known of her personal life other than that she was married to Manuel Gomes and worked as a merchant. She would basically collect goods and deliver them to other places.
I'm sat on the edge of my chair here because I'm trying to figure out how she factors in relation to this dead baby that we find.
So she transported goods from town to town, transporting parcels from the city of Coimbra to Gavinhos, which was a village of millers and farmers, or she also delivered to the entire parish of Figueira do Louravão.
Okay.
Allegedly, using her reputation as a merchant, Luisa would collect infants, at times claiming she would care for them herself, while other times saying she was taking them in the name of a caregiver or family who wanted a child.
Oh, no.
Having received the money, trousseau and fabric, she would then take the babies, strangle and bury them. When the investigators dug in the area where Sister Angélica Maria found the first body, they found 2 more. And it didn't take them long to trace their adoptions back to Luisa de Jesus, who confessed to the 3 murders. They further found that she had provided the institution with false names and addresses, and none of the children she had taken had in actuality been delivered to any families. So basically she lied the entire time. She went to collect the kids, she would give them false names
My stomach's just dropped.
and dates, and she would then take the children, take the money, take the
My
fabrics.
stomach's just literally just dropped. It's like, I feel sick.
Yeah.
It's certainly one way to secure, cement your place in history.
It's one way to make money when at a time when being a merchant was nowhere near enough to keep you going.
Just the value of it speaks about the value of human life. How bad is it that
It speaks to the value of children. Children.
Yeah. Well, human life is human life. It doesn't matter what age it is.
Yes,
yeah.
but it wasn't until recently that children began being
Having any
seen
kind of
at
rights.
as these as anything less than just tiny humans.
Yeah.
Or objects or possessions.
Well,
even.
let's face it. They're in what's quote unquote, and I am using the finger quotes as I say this, but what quote unquote civilized countries call the third world. This still happens.
Oh, 100%.
This still happens. They're not so much what she's done, but children who die literally before they're able to get to any kind of age at all because the poverty is so bad. They're on the streets the minute they're old enough to feed themselves.
Well, I'm not being funny. Like, unless you were a firstborn male, back then you may as well just not have existed.
Yeah, it's just...
You would have sent me straight to the workhouse, wouldn't you?
Unless your older brother turned around and broke his leg, in which case you'd be the money earner.
Yes,
so,
true.
yeah. I just feel sick. It's like, oh, I'll make a bit of extra cash. How do I do that? I'll strangle babies. It's yeah.
Strap in.
Oh God.
She was assisted in this by Margarida Joaquina and Leocardia Maria da Conceição. Those are names. Who both worked at the Foundling wheel, who made sure information provided by Luisa was never checked.
Wow. Oh my God. What did they get for their trouble?
Absolutely nothing.
What?
They didn't even get a share.
They were
Not a little stretch of cotton?
They were friends. They knew each other. I don't know that it's so much a we're gonna help you as a why would we doubt your word? Why would we have anyone we know you?
Oh my God, yeah, it's down from the pub. Yeah, let him in.
Oh yeah, no.
Exactly. Why would they have I don't know if so
Yeah, carry on.
They were both arrested for what would today be referred to as criminal negligence.
Okay.
However, they were later released. Attorney Pascoal Luís Ferreira da Silva was also arrested for registering the newborn certificates and never verifying the veracity of the data provided by Luisa. However, despite the accusation, his involvement in the crimes was never proven and he was absolved. So these people, as far as we know, they weren't involved so much as they just never cared to
Check.
So
like an
she
adoption
was
house scandal thing.
literally, she was very literally looking, making use of a flawed system that didn't cared enough. The system cared enough to do this so that parents wouldn't be left to their own devices to dispose of the children.
Yeah.
But they didn't care enough to make sure and check that the people that were picking these children up weren't just using them as money.
Yeah, that's money pits.
A classic case of like quality, virtuous intentions, but just poor execution.
Exactly.
Because of a lack of funding.
Lack of funding and lack of knowledge to a certain extent.
Yeah, lack of, not intelligence, but lack of knowledge.
They just why wouldn't you trust people? Like this is Darren down the road. Why wouldn't you trust that? Or in this case, in this case, Garrett.
That's a female name.
Again, this is a subject that is as frightening as it is fascinating in terms of, not to play the sexist here, but we vastly underestimate how much women can be involved in
100%.
These kind of situations.
100%. It's just usually women are less physical about what crimes they commit. Like most of female murderers will use poison or things like that rather than brute force and weapons and.
I'm not to quote cases from the past 50 years or to even, but there's been a few scandals that have hit the news in recent decades where you've had, and I'm going to put the words out there, exploitation of children, rings. But the reason they've hit the news and stayed there for so long is because they have been masterminded by women. I remember one I saw about 15, 20 years ago that was masterminded by a woman working in a nursery.
Yeah.
And you think, we have such a stigma where we can't believe that women could do these things. That when it does happen, we go, but actually, are women as capable of this? Well, clearly in history, women are as capable of this kind of brutality as men.
They are capable.
And I think what that says is that we should never, ever judge a book by its cover. In terms of, we should never go, oh, well, she can't do that, she's a woman.
Is that when you do have kids and you're teaching them who to run to when they're in trouble,
it's usually women that you tell them,
which means,
I think
if you see like another mum or something, run to them. But it's like, maybe it's sort of like the guise of innocence that makes those crimes seem scarier, even though they're probably a lot less.
I think it is. I think it's the fact that because you trust, we as a society trust women so much, and because the maternal instinct.
That's exactly the phrase I was going to quote.
The maternal instinct is a thing that's like. I mean, on the other hand, it's also. I don't know if I'm using this word correctly, but prejudicial to women as well, because when you give birth, you're expected to immediately feel this connection with your baby because maternal instinct, right? So when you don't, when you fail to feel this like connection for this thing that just came out of you, not only can you be ostracized, you ostracize yourself.
Oh, 100%.
You go quiet and instead you suffer in silence while you begin to like feel hatred toward this little being that's essentially sucking you dry.
The interesting thing is, I don't think it's so much feeling hatred toward. I think it's we are societally.
I'm not saying
conditioned.
immediately. I'm saying like eventually you develop
build up
it
a resentment.
Because you feel resentful.
Yeah. But
we're chill, right?
What?
We're chill.
I don't know. I'll let you know.
Okay.
we are talking about maternal relationships on a podcast where I am literally addressing this. But do you mind?
Oh no, it's all good, dude.
Tech guy is my son. So
Oh yeah.
but in those kind of terms, we have been societally conditioned to believe. Well, it's not just societally conditioned. Let's face it. This goes as far back as the cave era, that the women did the looking after of they did the whole cooking the food and whatever. You go on, tech guy.
In psychology, there's a theory that obviously, like humans in general, have like the fight or flight response.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a theory that women have a different one called tend and befriend, where instead of resolving problems through fighting or fleeing,
Oh yeah.
they'll resolve problems with other people through befriending or like, you know.
Yeah. Fawn.
They don't just tend to cut them off.
Yeah,
Fight, flight, fawn.
that's it. I can't remember the last
Or
one.
freeze.
Freeze or fawn.
freeze,
Yes.
yeah.
Fight, flight, freeze or fawn.
So this. It's funny how that concept in itself has evolved. Because when it originally appeared, it was fight or flight.
Yeah.
Then it became fight, flight, or freeze. Now it's flight, freeze, or fawn. The more
because
we learn,
anything
the
that
more
we
it
learn about
expands.
human behavior
Yeah.
for years
Yeah.
has been about men.
Yeah.
Women have been taken out of the equation because we're too hormonal,
Well, there is that.
including
There-
scientific studies.
There is that.
Which is probably quite bad. Well, definitely quite bad.
Probably.
It's definitely very bad.
Heart attacks
It's
are
very
different
bad.
in men and women.
Being more objective. Well, women are more. That's a statistical fact, as far as I know. Women are more prone to having heart attacks than men.
Well, no, but they manifest differently in men and women.
In a woman than in a man. Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
But we didn't know that. For years we've been looking at the symptoms from a man's perspective,
yeah.
and women die more frequently from heart attacks because
They're not
those
looking.
symptoms aren't recognized.
They're more
You know,
likely
the
to be like flu
BMI
symptoms in a
index,
woman.
You know, the BMI index, body mass.
Yeah, your body mass, your
Index,
BMI.
yeah.
It's based around white men, so it doesn't attribute any of the biological differences in any other race.
Like hip
or any
density
other
or anything
Yeah.
like that. Or
It doesn't account for that at all.
wow.
You'll have an
Okay.
extra organ.
Yeah.
It just doesn't account for that.
And I tell you, after a while, that thing weighs. I'm saying, having used mine, that thing weighs. So it's all right. But getting back to that point about how we've been societally conditioned to believe that it's in our genetic makeup, and whether it is or it isn't, I suppose isn't really the point. The point is we are made to believe that when we don't have that maternal instinct, we are essentially failing, which then doubles down on emotions we're already, particularly if you become a mother and you've experienced this in terms of baby blues or postnatal depression, you wind up doubling down because you kind of go, right, well, I'm no good at this, therefore I'm worthless. That then perpetuates this cycle of downhill spiraling because you're constantly looking at it from the point of, I'm trying to keep my head above water here because I'm drowning in this whole negativity of why am I not? It's not a building up resentment towards your child as much as it is a why am I not, your frustration at not connecting the way you're supposed to connect with your child.
What I meant before is that the resentment doesn't come from the child.
Yeah.
It comes from the fact that you're not feeling the things that society tells you you're supposed to feel.
But this then gets confused, I find, with the whole aspect of this woman, in this case, has murdered children, murdered babies, no less. And we look at it and we're shocked at the fact that someone can have so much detachment for human life that they can just do that at will. She's done it 3 times,
I think
obviously had no problem with it.
this is more of a sort of desperation case. I don't know how poor she was. I don't know how what situation that she lived in, but desperation and squalor breeds these sorts of crimes.
Oh,
that are,
100%.
like, desperate shots in the dark just to make it.
I think it starts off as desperation and then it becomes easier.
Yeah, it's
the more you do
like
it.
the right mix of someone that is willing to do that, maybe because of like a chemical imbalance in the brain, and the sort of surroundings that they live in.
100%.
I'm quite a big fan of Hercule Poirot, massive fan of Hercule Poirot, and he does talk about that at one point, about what happens when you commit one murder. Once you cross that line,
I think your brain justifies it.
There's no going back.
And it becomes easier
if I remember rightly, it's in Death on the Nile. He talks to one of my favourite stories, Miss Jacqueline de Belfort, and he says to her, once you become that, there is no going back. You will not see murder the same way you saw it before.
Yeah.
And therefore, you will find a reason, you'll find an excuse. Or
your brain can't see it the way you saw it before, because otherwise, how could you have done that?
Yeah, once you cross that bridge, you'll see it as something you can justify. And if you can justify it once, then there's no telling. I might have the wrong story, but I love that one anyway. So yeah, the key is we've also been taught as a society, you don't cross that bridge, whether it's through religion or whether it's just through moral coding. We've been told by as a society, you don't cross, there's your line, don't cross it. Human life is supposed to be valuable. And yet we find ourselves, through our own societal conditioning, absolutely dumbstruck when a woman does it, as opposed to we all have those
society is contradictory, isn't it?
Oh,
because
100%.
Human life is valuable until you're worth more dead than alive.
No.
And then that justifies it, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise wars wouldn't happen.
Oh God, don't.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm nearly finished.
I'm almost John Lennon with that. Like, give peace a chance, people. Anyway.
During excavations at Mont Arroyo, they found another 12 buried.
That wasn't 12.
12
On
buried.
so that's 15.
Then search of her home uncovered 18 more small bodies, 10 of which were buried and 8 dismembered and placed in pots.
Honestly, I thought we were sticking with the 3, and I thought my desperation theory was right. But
I need to put my bottle down.
I don't think this is.
I think it starts off, like I said, I think it starts off as desperation and then it gets easier and easier as you receive more and more money.
So we're talking a total of...
Although 33 bodies were found, there were listed 34 adoptions by Luisa. The last child has never been found. Despite the evidence, she confessed only to the murder of 28 newborns. Now, I didn't go too much into it, but I did read somewhere that there were theories that there were other people doing this. It's never been... like I said, I didn't look very much into it. So I don't know if that's true or not, but she only confessed to 28 of the murders. On the 1st of July, 1772, Luisa was made to walk the streets with a rope around her neck while her crimes were read out loud for all to hear by a magistrate. She was burnt with a pair of red-hot tongs, and her hands were amputated. Then, before she was burned in public, she was garroted. Her ashes were scattered, so there will never be a memory, and I quote, there will never be a memory of such a monster again. She was 23 years of age.
Shit.
Oh, wow. Oh, man.
She was considered the first female serial killer in Portugal, and she was also the last woman to be executed in Portugal. She was 23 years of age.
I mean...
How old are you, Scott? How old were you, Scott?
I'm 19, so...
I think...
About 4 more years?
It's not the...
What are you,
I think